So I turned the styrofoam head into a skull, and then I covered it with macrame, and I melted the styrofoam out.
Where is the styrofoam going that was all right here?
No idea. Huge thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. So I took some string and a stick, did a little macrame with it, and then made that into a skull. Honestly, kind of surprised that it worked out. So here we go, let's start. So I used some pretty thin macrame string and this little head that's made out of styrofoam and a ton of super glue. So I measured out how long I wanted the macrame to be and did 8 times longer. Turned out to be way too long, but better too much than too little. So I added this little lark's head knot. I actually did a video, my last video, on how to macrame. So if you want to learn how to macrame, I can show you how in my last video. But I timed out how long it would take me to do one single row of these little square knots. Turned out it was 22 minutes per row, at least at the beginning. And that's going to come in handy a little later. And I was filming on location. I was actually at a cabin in Lake Arrowhead. It was super beautiful, but it got cut short and I had to leave. And then I ended up filming the rest of me making the macrame actually off camera. So here I am with the finished macrame. Why? Because why not? So Rachel, that huge sweetheart, actually set up a little studio for me in her shed with these awesome lights, and I actually like the lighting setup here better than in my studio. So there's that. So I rolled up that macrame and just finished the last row. I wanted to see how long it would take me to do the last row and the first row, because if we take the middle of that, that's going to be the average time. So I went and looked at the clip, and it was about 9.5 minutes. So if you meet in the middle of 22 minutes and 9.5, it's about 15 minutes per row. And so if we count how many rows I did, 79. So that means that was about 20 hours of work. So that's cool. Turned out that carving the skull out of the styrofoam head was the easiest thing I did in this entire project. So with my little reference there on the phone, I just drew out kind of a rough skull, took the straight razor blade and cut into it. I took solace in the fact that I didn't enjoy cutting the neck off even a styrofoam head. So that's something. Van Gogh to over here. And I was having a super hard time with the nose actually. I kept on thinking it looked like a pig. But in the end, actually, it was pretty stoked on how I did it. I also thought I needed to exaggerate all of the shapes and curves in the skull because I didn't know how responsive gluing the macrame onto the styrofoam was actually gonna turn out. Turns out it was super responsive, and so I got a pretty, I guess, exaggerated detailed skull, which is fun. Kind of looks upset, but me. So cut relief lines in that eye socket there, and my fingers just dug it out. And yeah, it was actually really, I guess, satisfying. Yeah, it was satisfying cutting into styrofoam. If you hate that sound, I am sorry, but it was fun for me. I kind of wish I would have had an actual skull there to compare it to and shape it to that. Also pretty proud that I only cut myself once. So that little red on his nose right there was from my finger. Cool. Overall, pretty stoked with how the styrofoam skull turned out. And the next thing I had to do was run inside to grab the macrame wall hanging thing. And it looks so good as a wall hanging. I'm a little, I don't know, I was a little sad that I had to destroy it. And I didn't even know if this was going to work out. I've never done this before. So I placed that over the styrofoam skull and cut it off my stick. This hurt my heart. Ouch. No turning back now. So yeah, pushed in the eyeballs, and I'm gonna use this here super glue and actually a accelerator to make it harden quicker. Just did the parts his eyes and his nose and all these more important features, I guess, first. I wanted to make sure those were nailed in perfect, and by nailed I mean glued in. I did make the teeth jut out more than I wanted, but for the most part, it was looking good. Bunched up the top there, super glued it in, and then just pinched it together in the back and made like a little mohawk seam thing. And I figured if I just like super glued that, I could cut it off or sand it off later and make it not look like a seam. Had to try out a bunch of different scissors. And good old Fisker. Is that the name of that brand? I don't know, but it worked. So cool. It was getting late, and so I decided I would go ahead and go to sleep and finish up the next morning. So I had like most of the stuff super glued into place, but I wanted to get like all of the joints, all of the little strings super glued so it would be super stiff and hold its place. This took way more super glue than I thought it would, and more time than I thought it would. That's the theme of this project, I think, is things taking way more longer than I expect, except for the styrofoam. So here's me getting more super glue. Look at all that. I don't know if that's even all that I used. And then when I ran out, I had some clear matte spray paint, and I thought maybe that would work in the spots that I wasn't able to get all the way. And I had the idea to use a styrofoam skull, because when I made this rattan skull, I used a plastic skull, and then to get the rattan off, I actually had to cut the entire thing in half, and then take the plastic out of the little shell, and then glue it back together. And it was, I mean, it worked, but it wasn't awesome, and I thought maybe if I use styrofoam, maybe I could like somehow melt it out, and so that's what I'm gonna do next. But before I get to that, remember in my last video where I made a website in under 50 minutes? Well, I'd forgotten to do some things, and so my actual commerce wasn't set up. I couldn't sell anything, and Squarespace is so user-friendly, it had the two things that I needed to do right there when I logged into my page. And if you run into a certain problem, they have a fact page, frequently asked questions, with answers to anything you could think of, and an award-winning 24/7 all the time email support team, so you can contact them there. So with that all set up, my shop ready to go, I wanted to add a couple little customizations, like a little logo thing for the top of the page. So designed somewhat of a logo for the Collective Curious, and just saved it and then was able to throw it right on the front page there. Squarespace has made it super easy to upload your own images, your own logos, anything you want, size them to where you want them. Also customize your page to do whatever you want. Like I wanted to change that button to say subscribe. So if you wanted to subscribe to the zine, you could do that easily. Change the tagline again. Be a curious creator. Here's Squarespace. It's going off, making it super easy to make all the little details, like even the logo next to my thing on the URL, that people are going to notice and appreciate the time that you put into making your website neat. So I have a link in my description of the video where you can go create your website for free right now, and then when you do decide to either buy the website or domain, you can get 10% off of your purchase. So cool. Let's go ahead and get this styrofoam out of this macrame skull using acetone. Look at this.
Wait. Ooh, wait, are you nervous? What? Oh, can you wear gloves? This is acetone. You have super glue all over your face. You have acetone all over your hands. It's like, right now, like a 5-year-old playing with super glue. You're not, even if I gave you gloves, you wouldn't wear them.
I would.
You really would?
Maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Babe, are you joking me right now?
Is that cool or what?
Sorry, nobody else can have him. He's mine.
It's gooping out the bottom.
You see?
Look at it.
Oh. Wow. Ew. Gunky. That is gonna be a cool shot. Look at that. Makes you see where the styrofoam is, right on the face. Or you can see it too with your eyeballs, your eyeballs. I don't think you're supposed to be touching that. Rule number 702, do not do what Schmidt is doing with all the chemicals. Where is the styrofoam?
I don't know.
Where is the styrofoam going that was all right here?
No idea. It's...
Oh?
You wonder how I get shit on my face because I drool.
You just went to speak in full-blown... How do you have that much water in your mouth? What was it doing in there?
I eventually got to the point where I was just straight fisting that skull. And the only parts where it was like kind of dented, you can see on right there, was the parts that I didn't use super glue and I just used the spray paint. I really was using so much acetone that it did break down a little bit.
Then in here, 2 shots A vodka?
But was really quite surprised at how well it held its form. And so you guys can kind of see what it looks like, the acetone on the styrofoam. I wanted to show you outside of the skull with the little neck part. This oopy soupy goopy mess.
Can I do that?
Yeah.
What does it feel like? Like glue? Gunky chunky. Gunky chunky.
Okay, this is what we're gonna do.
Touch it, touch it, touch it. Oh, I'm stabbing your whiteboard.
It's okay, we're ditching this whiteboard right now. So, with all the styrofoam out, I just wanted to clean up my little mohawk. So, I cut off as much as I could with scissors, and then took the super glue and the accelerator, get it as hard as possible, as quick as possible, and just sanded it down. I was honestly really surprised at how well this turned out. And it's always these projects that I'm like most stoked about, that I think they're just gonna kill it on YouTube. Like the last skull one, but it kind of flopped, so don't let this one flop. Like, subscribe, share, do all those fun things. So cool.